Hey, this is John Hansbrough. I'm really excited to talk to you today about mental health and specifically a new plan available, a new offering from Lyra Health, one of the leading mental health EAPs in the marketplace for employers. So let's dive in. So to start with, before we got into that, I wanted to take a little bit of time and level set with where mental health and mental health conditions and behavioral health and all of those things are at in our country today. So we know right now that mental health has been up, mental health conditions have significantly increased during the pandemic. Measures for anxiety and depression have tripled and quadrupled up to nearly 25% of the US population. And that's a really big issue for employees. It's also a really big issue for employers. And so for the employer side, we know that workers who are stressed out and burned out are 2.6 more times likely to leave their job for another employer. They're over 60% more likely to take a sick day, and they're 26% more likely to go to the emergency room. So that's all leading to poorer quality of life for the employee and increased costs for the employer. Generally, mental health treatment in this country has been really bad for a while. Frankly, the way that we deal with mental health is that instead of taking some kind of preventative approach, which has been really popular and growing in trend with other areas of physical health, mental health doesn't get that. Mental health is treated on an acute basis, whereas someone has to be significantly showing symptoms enough to get treated by a therapist. There's not this emphasis on preventative mental health like there is for other areas of our healthcare system. Where we're at today is that there's basically a few different ways that people get mental health treatment. They can self-care through apps like Calm or MyStrength, and those are effective. Like, I personally use Calm and I like it. But it doesn't have that guidedness, it doesn't have that directedness that is really helpful for people who need that support with mental health conditions. If people need to go see a therapist and they're going through and working with their health insurance, typically provider networks are pretty narrow. So a lot of times that therapist that people want to go see is out of network, which is going to lead to a lot of higher costs, significantly higher out-of-pocket costs that can cause people to delay getting care. And in general, in the healthcare system, we know that delayed care leads to higher cost and poorer quality of outcomes long term. And so when it comes to mental health, there's really two areas of mental health care that we need to address within an employee benefits plan. So first, there is treatment for acute symptoms of mental health and depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, significant burnout. All of those really fall into that major to moderate level of mental health conditions that need to be treated. That's going to be coming with, therapists, potential drug therapy, and those kinds of things, which really require the involvement of the health insurance plan with that network of providers and the coordination with other healthcare professionals. On the other end of the spectrum are more mild to moderate mental health conditions, things like stress and anxiety, parenting issues, relationship issues, financial issues, and those don't necessarily need the involvement of a medical professional, an in-person therapist, coordination with regards to like a healthcare provider. In those kinds of situations, things like an EAP can be really effective for preventing those mild to moderate conditions from becoming more major conditions that have bigger impacts, bigger symptoms for those employees and for those patients. And so that's the area where an EAP is really going to focus. And that's what I want to talk to you today about Lyra Health and some things that they've done on the preventative mental health care side. So when it comes to preventative mental health care, it's not one size fits all. It's not providing an unlimited supply of coaching. It's going to be personalized plans that are tailored to something that the employee is going through. So specifically, they're dealing with financial stress, marital stress, parenting issues. If it is something about workplace stress that can be alleviated without going all the way to a full-blown healthcare treatment, that's really where an EAP is going to be most effective. And so Lyra Health is an EAP that is a standalone EAP, so they're not attached to disability or other kinds of ancillary benefits like some EAPs are. Instead, Lyra is working with ICP accredited coaches, so they don't allow everyone to become a coach with Lyra, but when someone does become a coach with Lyra, they are then directly working with members on understanding their current life situation, what they want to improve on, and helping guide them on treatment plans to improving those measures of mental and behavioral health. So according to third-party research, Lyra Health has a really good impact on their members. There's a 95% patient satisfaction. A major thing that they work on coaching their members to do is to self-solve problems. And that in general is a huge area of focus within the mental health care treatment area. Obviously, if you have a physical issue, like you need stitches, you got to have that medical professional do those stitches for you, right? You got to get sewn up by someone who knows what they're doing. With mental health, though, a very big emphasis is on developing resiliency and the ability to self-care. And so that's why you'll see things like Lyra focus on helping employees develop the skills and the tool sets to self-diagnose in some ways things that are going on around them so they can understand how they're responding to them and manage that better. And then after they do that, get some feedback by working with a coach on what they saw, what was going on, what they learned, and how they responded to it. And that kind of process over and over again helps develop within members the ability to deal with those stresses in their lives so that they can develop better and stronger mental health over time. And so how does Lyra do this? Well, Lyra has really three main avenues for improving the mental health of employees who are working within the plans. So the first one is self-guided apps. Those are pretty common. You're probably going to be familiar with those. That includes Calm and MyStrength. So those are really effective in certain situations where employees need that, they want to use the Calm, they want to use MyStrength. Like I personally use Calm. I like that I don't got to go through anyone to get that. Every single morning, I can sit with the Calm app, I can do my meditation, I can listen in on recordings that I really like, but it doesn't have that, person-to-person contact. I don't have that responsiveness that I might need if something specific came up. And so in those situations, then we look at two different coaching models within Lyra. So the first one is what Lyra has traditionally offered, which is just general mental health coaching. And so in this model, a Lyra member, an employee, is getting paired up with a coach, and then they're working with that coach for a 4 or 6 week period of time where they're both having virtual connections with that coach week to week. And then they're also being given assignments and skill set development throughout the week for them to work on between those calls with that coach. And so, kind of think of it like they're working with a trainer who's helping them develop the skill set, the toolbox, and the muscles of working on their mental and behavioral health. And so it's a very intensive process that Lyra has become really well known for and has led to them having that 95% satisfaction from consumers. Now, Lyra's new model within preventative care is, it still involves that coaching, but it's a little bit lighter on it. So to start with, Lyra's guided self-care is going to start with a same-day appointment with a coach. And so a member is going to get on the phone with a coach, they're going to get on video with that coach, and they're going to talk through what's going on, what they want to have addressed, what they need to do, and the coach is going to develop with them a self-care plan for that member to then guide themselves through over the course of 4 or 6 weeks. So it's kind of similar to Lyra's overall managed care, managed coach process. There's just not that week-to-week conversation with the coach. The coach can check in with them digitally, but it's a little less face-to-face labor kind of intensive. It's focused on the consumer getting that information, having that initial call with the coach specifically on the same day. That's a very big emphasis for them, is that if you have something going on, just like you don't have a bleeding thumb, you don't just wait until, you go see the doctor for it to get addressed. They say that they really emphasize that if you have something going on, you need to get it treated the same day and then be given some guide for what to do moving forward. So this might be appropriate for an employee who maybe says, I don't have the time for week-to-week sessions that are going to be an hour at a time. I really need to talk to someone and level set right now, and then develop a plan for the next 6 weeks as I'm working on getting better. So it's a really good fit for people who have those maybe mild to moderate behavioral and mental health challenges, and they recognize that I want to get better at this, I'm willing to put in the time and effort for it, but I want to have a little involvement with a professional here as I get started on that journey. So it's got that same day coaching-led instruction. And so there you have it. We've covered why preventative mental health and behavioral health is so important right now, the current environment and landscape that we find ourselves in during COVID and this whole work from home pandemic and quarantine situation. And then finally, what Lyra is doing in general with their mental health EAP, and specifically their new guided self-care plan, which I think is really interesting. I'm personally someone who I've never really worked with a physical trainer. I've always relied on myself, being a former college athlete, to know what I need to do and how my body responds. But I do look for instruction online. And so I think this guided self-care plan is going to fall into that same bucket. You have people who have mild to moderate symptoms of mental and behavioral health, and they know that they're really not in tip-top shape. They know that there's maybe some things that they could do to have better quality of life, but they don't really want to jump, they don't want to bridge that gap all the way to visiting with a therapist. That can be kind of intimidating and scary for a lot of people. So I think this guided self-care is going to be a nice opportunity there in that space for people who want to get better. they want to work with someone, but they don't maybe want to, go that full distance. And so I'm interested to pay attention to it. Employers of all sizes can adopt Lyra and any other mental health EAP out there in the market. I believe in it firmly as an opportunity in preventative overall healthcare. We really value mental health care here, and I'm just very excited about these kinds of new offerings coming into the market. And so if you have questions on that, please let me know. If you have other questions about Lyra Health and how this plan is going to work, drop them into the comments below. Again, this is John Hansbrough. I'm working at the intersection of healthcare, technology, mental health, and employee benefits. We're trying to help employers and employees get the most out of their benefits plans so that they can go pursue their purpose, their mission, the things that they're trying to do to make a difference in the world. Have a great day.